Hello there, it's your girl Tiffany Matthews, best on realtor here in the Baltimore, Maryland area with Real Estate Solutions. I hope everyone is doing well this evening. I wanted to talk to you guys about some of the reasons that buying a home is a benefit to you. And I'm going to give you 10 good reasons. I've got my list right here and we're going to go through them all. But first, I wanted to talk about the Gen Zs. That's what they are, right? I can't keep up. Anyway, I wanted to talk about them because I hear all the time on social media and on the news that, they're not into buying houses because it's just so expensive and the inflation and the cost. And I'm trying to figure out, is rent not expensive too? Because I thought rent was pretty expensive as well. So am I just crazy? It sounds like an excuse to me because rent is just as high as a mortgage these days. And rent is even more unpredictable, but we're going to get into that. So I want you guys to leave me some comments below. Tell me or Gen Zs, please tell me why you think paying a mortgage is more expensive than paying rent. Explain that and break it down for me because it's not computing in my brain. And I do have a small brain, guys. Don't get it twisted. I will admit that, but it's not computing in my brain as to why it is better to rent because the rent is cheaper than the mortgage. It's not making sense to me. I actually saw on the news recently that a lot of corporations are purchasing land so that they can build houses, like 3-4 bedroom houses in a community that are only for rent because so many people are saying they cannot afford a mortgage, but they can afford the rent. People, please know when you're renting, you're paying somebody else's mortgage, okay? So if you can afford that rent, you can afford a mortgage. Please believe, okay? Do not fall for the okie doke because that's exactly what you're falling for. Now, if you have other reasons that you decide you don't want to actually buy a house, fine. But the fallacy that renting is cheaper than a mortgage is just a fallacy, okay? I'm just saying. All right. Again, y'all leave me some comments. If I'm crazy, please forgive me. Again, you remember I tell you my brain is a little small. So break it down for me nicely in the comments, okay? Let's not be nasty or testy, okay? All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about 10 reasons why buying a house is a good investment, because that's what it is. It's an investment. All right, number 1 on my list is you're going to have ownership. You will actually own something, and that brings a sense of pride, a sense of accomplishment, a sense that, hey, this is something that I work for, I'm paying for it, it's mine, I own it, and I can do what I want to do with it. Granted, unless you got the HOA patrol out there telling you what you can and what you cannot do. But either way, if you do, you agreed to those terms when you purchased the house. So obviously you must be okay with it. So ownership, guys, just think about that. Owning something. And I know some of you might be saying, oh, you really don't own it because you have to pay a mortgage on it. Well, guess what? I own it more than I own that apartment or that house that you're talking about renting, because I guarantee you with that apartment you're renting, you can't go and sell it and get the equity out of it. But I can with my house because I own it. All right, let's move on to the next one. So the next on my list, number 2, is legacy. Home ownership affords you the ability to leave a legacy and pass down generational wealth to your children. or to another family member, a loved one, whoever it is you choose to leave it to. But it allows you that ability because it's an asset, guys. A house appreciates. Unless something crazy is going on in our economy, it does not depreciate. And just like the stock market, if it does depreciate, you hold on to it long enough, it's going to appreciate at some point again, okay? So purchasing a house is an asset, and it's a way to leave generational wealth to your family. Leave something to your children. I can remember being a kid and my grandparents leaving their house to myself, my mom, and my aunt. And we were able to actually split the proceeds from the house. Well, actually, we kept the house. My mom bought us out. So we were able to get the proceeds from her buying us out, and that was money in our pockets. Had my grandparents not left that house to us or had not owned a house, that would have never happened. So that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. You cannot do that if you're a renter. You just cannot. Unless you're doing it through, maybe you've got some stocks or something like that. But and I'm not saying that you shouldn't have that too, but definitely renting, you won't be able to do that. All right, let's move on to number 3. Stability. Home ownership, it is proven, and there are plenty of statistics that show home ownership creates stability for a family. For an individual, you have a sense of knowing that your house is there, it's yours, nobody's taking it away from you, and you feel just that sense of confidence and stability in your environment. Also, there are stats that show that kids do much better in the school setting, with their friends and their confidence when they have a home that their parents own. It's a fact. Look it up. It's just the stats, guys. It's something about ownership and stability and the self-confidence that helps one to exude. All right, moving on to number 4. When you purchase a house, you're moving into a community. And in that community, you grow to learn your neighbors, and you guys just have this sense of community and fellowship with one another. And that's a beautiful thing. We were put on this earth to be in connection with one another, not to be separate or isolated. We were all put here to help one another, know one another, and connect with one another. So when you are in a stable, rooted location, you're able to develop a community connection. If you're constantly moving here and there and you don't have any ownership in a place, you might not venture out to actually connect with people because you feel like, oh, I'm not going to be here that long. Oh, this is just a small stomping area for me. I won't be here but a hot minute, so I'm not gonna create deep connections with people. So again, that ownership is gonna create a sense of stability, which then is gonna create some rootedness for you, and you're gonna build a community effect around that. All right, number 5. Leverage is on my list. Remember, I said earlier on that owning a house was an asset. It's an asset, and you can use that asset as leverage. And what I mean by that is, let's just say you want to purchase another house, and you've been in your current house for, let's just say, 10 years. And when you purchased the house, you purchased it at $80,000, and you've been in there, like I said, 10 years, and now the house is worth, let's just say it's worth 250,000. So 250 minus that 80,000 is your equity that you have on that property. And depending on how much you paid monthly also determines the value and the equity in the home that you have. So if you were to refinance that house, again, the value is much higher than it was when you purchased it. And you could refinance that house, get the cash out of it, and the difference would be the money that you could use to purchase a second home. That second home might be a vacation home. It might be an investment property that you're looking to venture out in to create more income for yourself. But either way, it's leverage. It's something that you can use that you would not be able to use if you were renting from someone else. So leverage in ownership. Not to mention, if you have a multiplex or a duplex, you know, what you can do with that, just the potential in that. You can live in one of the units, rent out the other units, and while the renters are paying you, that is paying and covering for your mortgage, and you can do whatever you want to do with the rest of your income that you bring home from work or however you make your money. But essentially, by having renters, the renters could pay for your mortgage. So that's why I say renters, if you think that you're not paying a mortgage, wake up. You are. You're paying somebody else's mortgage when you could be paying your mortgage. So wake up, guys. Okay? All right. Let's move to number 6, credit building. Owning a home is a great way to build your credit and, you know, to show that you are responsible with your money, you're responsible in taking care of your home, and it's a great way just to build your credit. So just make your on-time payments. While you're doing that, you have an asset and you're building equity within your property, and you are also building your credit. Simple as that. All right, moving on. Tax benefits. So obviously, you can write off, once you have home ownership, you can write that as a tax break for yourself. So there are benefits. You get a bigger tax break for home ownership. That is money back into your pocket for owning a home, okay? So all these expenses that you hear people complaining about, you're going to get that money back when you file your taxes and get that tax refund, okay? All right, number 8. This is a real good one, okay? So when you own a home, you know that you have stability in the amount that you're paying on that home. What do I mean by that? So your mortgage, usually when you get a mortgage, you're getting a 5-year, a 10-year, a 15-year, or a 30-year fixed mortgage. That mortgage rate is fixed for the amount of years that you have arranged with your lender, and you know that this is going to be the amount that you pay every month for the extent of the loan or the term of the loan, period. The only flexibility that you're going to incur would be your escrow, and that's if you have an escrow. Some people don't have an escrow, but your escrow usually covers your property taxes and your homeowner's insurance, and also that's it, really. I was about to include PMI, but PMI is actually included in the fixed mortgage rate. So, you know, every year your property taxes may vary a little bit and go up, but overall, you know how much that mortgage is going to be every single month, every single year. It's not going to waver. It's not going to bend that much based off of the growth in inflation either. Unlike renters, what you guys are seeing now and saw during that COVID period is property housing inflation went skyrocketing, and also with that rental prices went up as well. And I'm not talking about $50 for the year. I'm talking some people saw $200 and $300 increases in rent in some places. Some places saw even more than that. So I don't see, like I said earlier, I just don't see what the Gen Zers are saying about not being able to afford a home but can afford to rent somewhere. It's not computing for me. So stable housing cost with your mortgage. You know what your mortgage is. It's fixed for that 30-year or however the long your term of the loan is. And again, you might have a little increase from the property taxes. But other than that, that's it. Okay. And with that, I will say sometimes your property tax goes up one year, sometimes it goes down. But typically with renting, they never have a decline or a decrease in your rent year after year. It always goes up. It never goes down. So that's another point. All right. Number 9. So the other thing you get with owning your home is you get a little bit more privacy, especially depending on where you live. You might be on a huge lot where you have maybe an acre or more and you don't have a neighbor like right up on you. You've got your own privacy. Or, you know, sometimes in these apartments, you have somebody living above you. You might have somebody living below you, and you've got to deal with thin walls, hearing what other people are talking about, them jumping or making all this noise, playing loud music. And it's just disruptive to your privacy, to your peace. But when you own a home, you have more choices about your privacy. You can choose to buy a house that's far away from your neighbors or within a secluded area from the neighbors. You have that choice. Okay. So usually with apartments and housing rentals, the way they have them lined up, you usually don't have that option. All right. Drum roll. I know it's a terrible drum roll, but last one, number 10. And we alluded to this a little bit earlier, and I've been talking about it here and there, but your property is an asset and you are building equity. You are building equity. So I read something recently that said, you know, look at your mortgage payment as a payment towards your savings, because as you're paying on your property, you are paying off the loan, and the amount or the value of the home is increasing, and you are building equity because you are decreasing the amount that you owe, but the value of the property is growing. So it is a win-win for you for all the reasons that I mentioned. All the reasons that I mentioned. I hope that this was enlightening to you guys. And I hope it made sense for those people who have been on the fence about purchasing a house. These are just some of the benefits for home ownership. There are many, many more. And all of these benefits can be personal to the individual depending on their circumstance. But anyway, I hope this was helpful. Check out my other video. It's talking about how to purchase a house with zero money down. It's a really quick video just telling you some of the tips and tricks and how to actually do that. Okay? Until next time, guys, take care.